And I'm live with Pete.
Nice.
Morning, everyone. I'm Michelle Oliver, and I'm here with Pete Ambrosino. And we are coming to you every Friday morning. I'm in Colorado. Pete is in beautiful Florida. And we both are happy to have sun, and I'm having cold. I think you're having warmth, but we're going to come to you every Friday with raw and real conversations about coaching. We'll be sharing some things that our clients are dealing with, and we'll be talking about real stuff that has happened during the week. And we're doing all this with the intention of just serving and helping everybody out there. So good morning.
Good
It's the end
morning. So
here.
happy to be here with you today. It's
I'm happy too.
we always have so much fun when we jump on these things. We just never know. Sometimes we talk about it and plan it out. Sometimes we just roll with it. I think it's better that we roll with it because of our so many cool things happen during the week that we can bring to this and share.
Yes, and that really is the whole idea, right? To help people reflect on what's going on with them. And when we share real things that have happened with real people, real clients during the week, pretty
Yeah.
much everybody can relate to that kind of stuff. So our intention is to just be of service. So what was going on with your clients this week? What did you encounter?
So, it's interesting because whether it's a, current client, current group or past client, it's super common to still remain friends with the clients that we've had and completed over the years, so there's always times that we get back in touch with them, and I use the end of the year to do that and just kind of remind them some of the things that we talked about and some of the habits we have at the end of the year, getting in gratitude for all the things that we've accomplished. And this year I made it kind of a funny because it's not often I'm normally the receiver of the emails from the clients and then respond back, other than if I have some kind of piece of important information I sent out. So this year I sent out an emergency homework, top secret, open now.
I love it.
Right. And everybody's like, oh God, what is this? What is this all about? I was getting text and like, what the hell is this? Right. And so it was something I dug up and pulled out. It was, we all have this mindset of New Year's resolutions. And I'm sure are you dealing with the same thing, Michelle, with the people?
I want to hear yours, and then I'll share, but go ahead.
It's super cool. It's literally about I don't know, maybe a 10 or 12 page worksheet. That it takes you through the process of creating goals or outcomes. The whole goal thing sometimes is a little bit scary. So I'll change the perspective around that. But anyway, when you create a goal or an outcome, it's not a resolution, because we create it in different areas of our lives, right? Mm-hmm. So it allows you to create 3 top outcomes that you want for 30 or 90 days, 6 months, 5 years, or a year, right? Yeah. And it gets you to start with your values and start creating what's real for you. It's kind of a basic process, but if you follow through it. So what I told everybody, I said, look, I said in the body of the email I sent to them, I said, every year my wife and I, we take our Google Calendar with us. We take our journals, and we make an end of the year entry, and we sit at someplace special and quiet. For us, it's kind of like we take our beach chairs out, we go out to the beach and just kind of shut off everything and look and start back in January and say, okay, what happened in the month of January? What were the cool things that happened, experiences, people we were able to be with, things that we accomplished, if there were some that month, and just start writing, just one, here's what happened. Hey, got to go to dinner with friends I didn't see for we haven't seen forever. It can be anything.
Yeah.
And what happens, Michelle, is I swear to God, there has not been a year that there hasn't been more than 50 some things that we can look back on the year and go, oh my God, and just be like, this is crazy, right? So it gives us a chance to be grateful for the year, look back and say, oh my God, we really did a lot. And some things we did with intention, some things just happened. And you kind of have that realization of, how that all works, right? And then now we set intentions for the next year and say, all right, here's where, and we're going to integrate this process and see what actually comes out of it differently than what we've done.
Yeah.
But each area of our lives, we kind of set an outcome of, okay, we've gotten to here, and this is what we'd like to do, and this is who we'd like to serve, and how we'd like to, maybe hit more people, or whatever it is. We just capture it, and we just write it out. It doesn't become anything neat, or it's not a big process. Because in your journal, you can make it look however you want. It doesn't matter, right? But
right.
The idea is it comes out of your brain through your hand, and it's to paper. And the chances you have, the chances of remembering it increase 40% by just getting it out of your hand onto paper, even if it's sloppy.
Yeah.
So I passed this to everybody, and I said, and when I got responses back, I said, and when I got on calls, I said, look, I'm going to do this with you. I'm going to share, when we get together, I'm going to share some distinctions and things that might have come from it that might be different. And, quite honestly, one of the things I would say today is that if anybody would like a copy of it, just shoot me an email. I'll send it right out to you. It's just a quick PDF you can print out. And it's kind of cool if if you hate resolutions and you think they're BS, and you want just a little bit of a guide on how to think through what's super important to you, it might help. So I thought it was cool, and it's kind of fun, and that's what we did. That was kind of
that's great.
Yeah. How about you? How do you end your year?
First of all, I want to comment on this because, Pete, I think I love hearing what you're working on and doing with your clients and with your wife and everything. And first of all, I think it is wonderful that you guys do that together as a couple, and that you're integrating play into this. I mean, this kind of playful aspect, because that is really what I'm about working with the women that I work with. I think absolutely we're all like resolutions. We all know that means nothing.
Nothing.
That was like the hope is not a strategy kind of thing. And many people too have tried excuse me, a huge variety of goal setting strategies, or try this, try that. There's so many versions of that. Oh, yeah. And everything is great. Everything matters. And I do think we can talk more about this in the coming weeks as people are kind of rolling into that plan and maybe honing it and defining it a little bit more. So I love that you're sharing this, and I would encourage everybody to either comment below, throw your email in there, or email Pete or DM one of us or whatever, and get that. For me, this week with my clients has been, it's kind of an awkward week because you've got like one foot in the old and one foot in what's coming, right? It's that like we're on one of those wiggle boards, and there's so many triggers because there's family to family or not to family is the question, and there seems to be so much drama that comes up, not only drama with families and relationships, but also when traumatic things happen, like some people land in the hospital, or you have a breakup, or like somebody gets hurt. It's so much more magnified during the holidays.
Oh my gosh, emotions are so high around this time of the year. It's off the chart.
Yes. And that's exactly what I wanted to talk about a little today, is the single most powerful thing that prevents us from doing what we tell ourselves we're going to do is emotion. So, it could be like, yeah, I'm really committed to going to the gym every day during the holidays because I know it makes me feel better. Or I'm going to go to that party and I really don't want to drink, or I really don't want to eat that much sugar, or whatever your thing is that you're trying to hold on to, which is what's really good for you, what you know is going to work. The second something triggers us, that's where we fall, right? Oh, well, I just don't. And the thing with sugar and not great food and alcohol will just kind of triggers this downward spiral. So every one of my clients that I've spoken to in the last 2 weeks have had some kind of pretty major family event.
Oh, yeah, like big ones, and
like health, and
and it's weird because it seems like it's okay. Everybody waits till this time of the year to actually let it happen. It's like, why does it have to give, reframe this meaning around the great, coolest time of the year? It's so, and it's the emotions are so high. Pressure, stress, angst, anxiety, all that stuff. You're absolutely right. It's all about the level of emotion that we're dealing with at the time. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So what I've been working with all of my clients and myself and my family is just being present and releasing those emotions. Because the more whatever technique you have for that, like there are so many things I use with my clients, different somatic releases, and there are so many available. Tapping, Sedona method. There's something called Miracle Mastery that I'm trained in. There's just all kinds of things you can Google. You can reach out to me. I'm happy to help you. There's so much free stuff on the internet.
That's so cool.
But yeah, because the magic is, and especially, I don't know if it's a woman thing. I'm sure men have their version of this, but I have a lot of female clients, as I know you do. And we tend to just keep thinking we're going to keep taking care of all of it and managing all of it. And the parents and the kids, even if they're grown, and some people have grandkids, some people have still young kids or kids that are just starting to drive, or and it's the holidays, it's like all these things. And then somebody winds up in the hospital and we just keep putting ourselves on hold.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's exactly what happens. It's exactly what happens, because women in their core are nurturers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's everybody else first, me last, all the time.
And men do that too. Their version is like, we'll fix this, we'll solve this, we'll handle this. And
that's right.
It's never about like, okay, let's sit down for a minute, acknowledge what we're feeling. It's only going to take 5 minutes to do this, like 4 or 5 times a day. I tell.
Give me an example. Give me what do you mean by somatic tool or somatic thing that you can do to just kind of get yourself in observation?
All you have to do, like, I'm really right now very interested in this thing called the Sedona method that I literally was trained in when I must have been, I don't know, 17 or something. When my mom was taking me to all these weird things, that was in Sedona. And that has actually resurfaced. Really, it's all over the internet. And Hill Dwoskin is doing all kinds. I think there's a big live free release today. Actually, you can just Google the Sedona method, jump on there with him. But that there are many layers of that. You can go as deep as you want, as spiritual as you want, or as physiological as you want. And that is also true with everything else, like the emotional freedom technique. There's all kinds of stuff out there, but it really boils down to the habit that we have so deeply ingrained in us to shut things down. Mm-hmm. And it's a great skill, right? Because you've got to compartmentalize, shut it off in order to deal with whatever's going on. But there's another way, which is to be like a 2-year-old, like anyone and everyone who's ever had a toddler. If you imagine what they go, or watch them, if you've got little kids or grandkids, what they go through in the course of one day, they'll be in abject misery and then in bliss and everything in between. And the emotions just flow through them. They're not like, they like their brother steals a toy and they lose it, but then 30 seconds later, they're back to equilibrium. And the emotions are, as we know, energy in motion. So what happens is, like with us as adults, we're going to control everything. And so we're like, okay, I'm not going to react to that. Even with our extraordinary enlightenment and awareness, we're like, okay, I know I'm being triggered. I'm not going to react to that. We're trying to control everything. But those feelings are just feelings. That's right. And then later at the end of the night, we're exhausted. We're like, crap, I guess, everybody else is drinking and eating chocolate.
Might as well too.
Why not? It seems to work for them.
You forget about the day to day. It's like, yeah, it's so true.
You forget your goals, and then you wake up the next day and you don't feel like going to the gym, and and then you're being run by your negative emotions. So we're lying to ourselves when all we really have to do is like be present, be aware, welcome it in. The Sedona method is just largely about welcoming in the emotion.
Nice.
Asking yourself a few questions. There's so many different versions of this. Like Katie Byron has this thing. A lot of people do. But it's really like, let it be there. And then Sedona method, you ask, what am I needing here? Am I needing or wanting to control? Am I wanting to feel safe, or am I wanting approval? And those are kind of the baseline things that underlie all this. So, and it's not that it's wrong to want safety, approval, or control, but we get stuck in wanting it, in needing it, rather than when you just let go of that need. Surprise, you're okay, all is well. Underneath it, there's this core stability that we deny ourselves because we're fighting it all the time. So really what you find, it's like when you're a kid and you have a really good cry, and then you're like, oh wow, I just feel better. Why do you keep telling me don't cry, don't cry, don't cry?
Yep.
It's actually a magic potion to reestablishing, equilibrium.
So two big takeaways from there, and I always take notes when we talk. It's so awesome to be able to bounce things back and forth with us. But you're allowing yourself, you're giving yourself permission to feel the way you are. And say, hey, it's okay. And what do I really need right now? And it's a beautiful way to take a step back and get into observation mode and say, whoop, what's really going on here? And that is the biggest challenge that most of us don't realize all the time, is that when in the heat of the moment, we can pull that out of our utility belt and say, whoa, wait a minute, what's happening here? That's fantastic.
You'll get to a point. I've been working a lot with this over the last 9 months or so, when it kind of showed back up on my screen. And I was like, wow, I remember going through this training. Too bad I wasn't using it for 30 years,
Oh my gosh.
But you get to a point where it's like you have this open door in your body, because that's where we store these repressed emotions. And you really will get to a point where things will happen and you're just like, oh, let it go. So it's about releasing a need to control, a need for approval or the need to feel safe, which seems counterintuitive.
Yep.
But in doing so, you actually are allowing yourself to be in control, because you're not trying it. And, I mean, I don't know, remember the serenity
100%.
prayer, like, what can I control? What can't I control?
Yeah.
And how can I focus on that? And then ironically, the things that we can make a difference with are those things like making choices that are the best for us.
Yeah.
Oh, I can still go to the gym if that's what it is, or I can walk away, or I can say no, or even in the midst of some crisis in the hospital, when I'm juggling everybody up, trying to make everyone else have a happy time, I can just let go of these feelings so that they're not piling up and I create another crisis that somebody else is going to have to attend to me then,
Yeah.
So it's just that people are dealing with so much stuff. It's amazing what happens in the course of
It is
a
unbelievable.
month.
Yeah. I mean, the meaning that we give it is the true power of the moment.
Yeah.
Is how, what does this mean in the back of our minds?
Oh,
It can be so dangerous,
yes.
and
Give an example of that, like, so that people understand. I think I know what you're talking about, but what's an example of that? And how
I'll give
do
you a holiday example. I mean, I used to sit and, I was always closer to my grandfather than I was even my grandmother, his wife, right? So I love my grandmother, right? But when we would sit down and we were over at my aunt's house at Christmas time, she'd always want to sit down and have these serious conversations, and just kind of dive into my life and, be, you know what I mean? Just kind of intrude, right? And it's like, it took me so long to be like, well, you know what? From my grandmother's perspective, who came out of the Depression, this advice makes sense. Right. And once I sat back, because I mean, it sometimes it got me, and I would be like, nah, let's talk about something else. You know what I mean? Or I would like to kind of lash back or say something, you know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
When in turn, the better thing that would have served her would be, hey, thank you so much. I will definitely consider your opinion because I value it highly. And go get a cookie, or just do something different,
Right. Yeah.
So it's those things, like you talk about the triggers or the cues and the things that happen, and we have these differences, and we see Aunt Sophie that we haven't seen in forever, and all this thing that just kind of cranks up and we start stacking it, and we have to take that stack and start peeling it back and say, no, you know what? My grandmother really only meant the best for me. She pulled me aside because, we were able to, have that moment together, and that's probably special for her. And think of it from her perspective. You know what I mean? And I never did. I did it. It took me a long time to kind of learn that. And it was way before I was a coach, but it was like, it was just that one of those things where I had to really decide who was in that inner sanctum of who I listen to.
Yeah, I think that is so valuable. What I notice is when I'm working with business owners and grown-ups, adults, we think we know everything. We think that we have read enough books, been coached enough, taken enough courses. Plus, we built this multi-million-dollar business. We did that, we've had all these things. And so we do have that toolbox,
right,
that we apply to everything. And oftentimes we aren't really open to looking at this stuff where maybe we still need to grow. And if there is any place that it comes up, it's within family and intimate relationships. And honestly, business is no different. You can't separate the two. I don't know why people think that, but businesses are actually made up of human beings, right? So
Hey,
you've got,
I'll tell you what. Let me take that to another level. So
yeah,
now you have a business that you've got a bunch of employees.
yeah,
You're dealing with the dynamics of your family and circle of friends, what's going on. Can you imagine the magnitude of everybody that you employ in your team is going through the same freaking thing?
yeah.
It just compounds. It absolutely compounds. One of my clients thought one of his lead managers was like ready to walk out the door. Just like he had this conversation where like, oh man, tomorrow is just make it or break it for me. Well, what does that mean? He didn't know. He stewed on that for like days, right? And here there was something major happened in his life around the holidays, and he was dealing with that because the holidays bring it back.
Yeah.
And and it was like, and it brought it right into the office, brought it right into a conversation. And the guy's like thinking, man, where am I at now? Now what? So it totally compounds. It's unbelievable how this time of the year is so energetically charged.
It is. There are, I mean, you have to really consciously, you've got to be willing to be aware of what's going on. And I agree with you. Like there's so many memories and triggers, and you go to like you were saying, to the same house, or excuse me, like today I realized I looked at the date and I was like, there's a very significant memory for me that happened on this day around business that I am not feeling anything about it, which is good. but it took, like 6 years for me to process that. And even to the point where I realized that that I hadn't completely let go of, and it's not like you're letting go of like what happened, but you can let go of the actual emotions that are still causing you to not function at optimal you. And I think we're so afraid of those feelings. We can say it's just a feeling, but feel how your body reacts when you're having a feeling. The first thing you want to do is shut it down. Yeah. So I really, gosh, when you were talking about that, I was just thinking how every organization and every person needs to have a coach, either on the inside or a group, somewhere where you can go and just like let it go. And there's something very powerful about doing that with another person. So when you were talking about you and your wife going like, let's reflect over the year, it's so different than when you're just doing it. I mean, although I journal a lot, and there's a lot of power in that, but journaling and then sharing some of it, there's so much power in that.
It's so cool to do.
We need each other.
We do. And here's another thing that I just thought of, and it's something that and this is why this is so important to talk these things through, because now imagine we empower our business owners to identify this type of pattern that happens every year, and how we could anticipate, hey, we know the first, second, third week of December is just going to be all, DEFCON 4 in oceans, right? So imagine if now we build some type of way that we acknowledge our staff and our people that we love and work with all the time, and say, hey, I know what's going to happen. I'm here for you. Come into my office. And if you gotta shout at somebody, you want to break something, I got some stuff in my office we can throw together if you want.
That would be one thing to do, throwing things. No, I'm kidding.
Like get some foam bricks or something and just throw them.
Yeah. No, I really love that you shared this, because everyone's going to forget.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in, right now is the time as an organization or as a family or as a couple or as a human to look at what's going on and put those things in place. Can you imagine how your staff would feel?
Oh, if and you know what? It is so simple. Right now, I just thought of it. We all use an electronic calendar of some sort, right? It would be so simple to throw in a little reminder, December 1st, create support system for staff around holiday emotions. Boom.
Yeah, it should probably be right before Thanksgiving.
There you go.
When they're about to go have their first encounter. That's when people start thinking, who and where and how, and you know, who's invited and where do I go and do I not go? And it is funny because I know for a lot of people, the holidays are really just connection and joy and all of that. And I'm not discounting any of that, but the fact is that everything lives together. You know, there is joy right where the pain is. There is pain right where the joy is. And if we're not trying to control it all so much and be more playful and realize it's so much of what you said was really, really powerful, that it is the meaning we give to a condition or a circumstance or an interaction, and you can live for decades trying to figure out what happened. Like, I really don't know what happened, but that person just quit talking to me.
Right.
That you can't tell me that doesn't leave some unresolved feeling.
Yeah. And then we look, okay, what's wrong with me? Did I smell? Did I do something wrong? Did I hurt somebody? Because now you feel that you have that guilt that you're carrying with you that never and the holiday or the date will bring that emotion up, and it's like pressing play on a tape recorder, because your body knows exactly how it felt, how it was postured, how it, you know, everything is just brought back like a recording.
Oh, that reminds me of that. There was a book I read a while ago, and it was called Your Body Keeps Score, or something like that. Have you read that book? The body keeps the score. I mean, and I'm not about like overdoing it on the personal development books. I think just because I've read so many thousands of them, but sometimes it is helpful to have the understanding so you can make better decisions. You know, a client of mine shared a book, I think it's called The Naked Mind. And it's about, you know, how it's really helpful to not, like, how alcohol affects your brain. And even though I've had a lot of exposure to understanding alcohol and its effects and everything, I found that book really helpful. You know, even if you catch a few gems of some kind of information that can carry you through whatever is in your face. And the problem with some of this is that things that you know don't fit in your goal system are normalized this time of year. You know, you go back into the family dynamic, and you might have, you know, you spend all year trying to free yourself from that, and then you're like, wait a second, have I made no progress? You know, you just get triggered by one thing someone says, and then you're just flattened. So
interesting. You know, it's so powerful to be able to unpack those type of emotions. And when we get to do that with our clients, you really start unpacking things that could be in the way of other things. Because what, you know, how easy can the family dynamic affect, say, your end of the year outcomes, that you really wanted to end the year strong, but all these things have happened and compounded throughout the month, and it got in the way.
This is also why, honestly, I heard this from several clients last week or a few weeks ago. That feeling of what it's like Wednesday again, or it's Thursday again, and we're having our meeting, and where did I fall? Why is this, and sometimes in coaching, I don't know, I'd love to hear how this is for you, but what I see again and again is, we have clarity and vision, and we go through all of these things and goals and accountability. And always the thing that prevents the desired outcome from actually occurring is some kind of emotional state that people get stuck in as a pattern. And until, like, sometimes it takes seeing your pattern over the course of weeks or months until you're really ready to address the core underlying, like I call it the kingpin, like of the logs, when you really are finally ready to be honest about it and you pull that out, everything else starts happening much more easily. So awesome. It's like so if you feel like you're not making progress, you still are making progress, because you're getting closer to that thing that really is going to make the difference. Does that make sense? Is that
100%
resonating with you? Yeah,
it does, because there's a lot of times where we might set this amazing strategy in place and say, oh my God, if we did these 3 things, it would automatically add, $250,000 to our business, just say, right? And then the next meeting, you come to it and be like, well, okay, how closer are we to even starting one of those 3 things? Yeah. And then, right? And it's like, wait a minute, we just had this amazing breakthrough and now no action. What could possibly have happened to get in the way of that, right? And then that's when, like you're talking about, that's when you got to really start digging in to say, hey, and it's the same thing, like going to the gym personally, right? It's like, darn right well that if we put our sneakers on and we just went out for a walk, we would feel 98% better by the time we got back than even going to the gym, but we did something.
Yeah, I think there are so many things that we can talk about that I think will be helpful to people as in this new year. Because as you're saying that, absolutely, I agree. And there's this, I don't know, this is why having a group or a coach or something really, really does help.
It is.
Because we get in these unconscious patterns of, like, I mean, we all have felt this. I've been dealing with this myself for sure, where I see these things, like you said, the 3 things on my list for the last 2 days. I got other stuff done, and I did get to the gym, which was not easy for me at all right now, by the way. Yeah. But I did the little thing of walk to the door, like I'm 5, put on your shoe, tie the shoe, put on your coat. Like, yep. We're going out the door. Now we're driving. And then I got there. I was like, I heard there's so many people here. No one should be here this time of day. Maybe I'll just drive. I literally drove around the parking lot. And then I was like, okay, pattern interrupt. You need a pattern interrupt. And then I was like, you got to go to the other side of the parking lot and park over there from now on. So sometimes you just got to play weird games, right?
What's powerful about that is the vulnerability that we have as coaches. When I can tell a personal story of something that I'm relating to them and their situation right now, as the coach, because quite honestly, who do we get? Who's our first client?
Us.
Darn right.
Forever. It
Oh my
never goes
God.
away. And you never, yeah, it never ends.
It never ends. And we're not perfect, obviously. And we have this stamp that we, believe we're a
You
coach.
are, but I'm not.
But the thing is that when we bring a personal story to it, it is so impactful because, hey, this time of the year, guess what we're dealing with the same way.
Same
And
stuff.
Same stuff. It's like, and it doesn't matter even level of income, challenges and problems in business. I don't care where you are, if you're doing, a couple $100,000 in business or you're doing a few $1,000,000 in business. Guess what? It's all the same stuff.
I'm telling you, it is absolutely the same.
The same.
And emotions are the same.
The
and
same.
When people lie to themselves, it's a lie to yourself.
Yeah.
And when you hurt someone else, you hurt them. They hurt, it doesn't, money has nothing to do with it. Yeah. Except that it might be easier to justify a behavior potentially.
Yeah, that's true.
Because other people buy your story. But to your point, you are the one that informs everything that happens with meaning. It's not anyone else. And you can look at anything and give it whatever meaning you want. You can, like what I was about to share, I don't know, I guess I don't mind sharing all of my terrible challenges, but I had 3 things I needed to do, told other people I would do, told myself I would do. Didn't matter how late it was, I was going to complete it because that's normally my MO. But I am feeling this resistance, and I didn't want to look at why I'm feeling the resistance. So this morning I sat in bed. I was like, I'm going to sit here and let go of this and sit with this crappy feeling until I really understand it and can let go of it, because it is standing in the way of what I say I want and where I am. Wow. And what's crazy to me is how our bodies, like, we really do go into that, flight or fight place. Sure. And we're not even conscious of it. We're so good at just shutting it down and being logical, shutting it down and going into analyzing, especially if the analytical mind has been successful at something, and we're really good at it. And we're really good at having other people believe that. We create all these layers of, it's not authentic truth. Like, if we want something, it's our responsibility. And it's this simple, in my opinion. It is our responsibility to let go of anything that stands in the way of our experiencing that. Yeah. We don't have to control it. We don't have to change the other person. We have to let go of our whatever it is.
It's like an attachment. It's like we're latching on to this because it's serving a need in some way, and I just can't, I can't let this piece go. I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's always at a deeper level of, like, wanting approval is a big thing they talk about in the Sedona method. Are you holding on to this thing inside of you because you want, and it could be a negative approval. I mean, honestly, we all go around acting like we're 4. Like, think of how little kids act out, when they want attention, and it's so obvious. But when we do that, and we might be doing it by saying, forget it, I'm not going to go to the gym. I don't have to go to the gym. I'm into self-care.
I'll go later this afternoon. I'll do something later.
Right. This is self-care today. I'm not going to the gym.
Yeah.
What? And sometimes it's true, but the only person that knows is you. And the easiest person to lie to is ourselves.
So, in light of why we're here today, if it's not too personal, I don't mean for you to share with us what it was, but when you dug in and found out what the real culprit or the
Oh,
saboteur
oh
or
yeah.
the emotion or the feeling, would you share with us what that really ended up being when you dug in?
Yeah, it was pretty deep for me, honestly, because I kept looking at other things because I really didn't understand it. And at the very core, I really just didn't want, it's kind of the way I've been feeling about the gym
Oh, wow.
is this efforting really going to work?
Hmm.
Is it really going to deliver what I want? And what is the price I have to pay? And
Oh,
am I willing to do it? You know?
yep.
So like I think so we all have our things. And for me, it's really like I'm so used to doing things alone and making things just happen. And I'm a huge control freak. Like, just get out of my way. I will deal with this and
You're
I will
the alpha
handle.
female Wonder Woman. I know.
No, I'm not. Don't. Oh, I hate that stuff. I no, it can't. But look, here's the thing about women, and
Hmm.
this is a vulnerable thing to share, but when you really get honest with yourself, why are you doing that? And
Hmm.
that's what I had to look at today,
Yeah.
because there's huge vulnerability in trusting other people to
Oh, yeah.
deliver. And although every business that I've had that has worked and been successful, I was so in love with where we were going that I could just let other people take control over all of these different areas. It didn't
Oh,
matter. I was so into the vision, and I was so over here as the idea person that I let go of control in all these other ways. So here, when you have that impulse to control something, that's not being an alpha female, whatever the hell that is. Excuse my French, but I really think that that is an excuse for bad behavior that doesn't work. And
that's
I'm not qualifying morally bad behavior. I'm just saying ineffective behavior that doesn't work. The ultimate leader is always a servant. And
yep.
you can be right down in the trenches, and then you can be over here, and it's more about the vision. So if you find yourself like where I was, why am I resisting this to control it?
Yeah.
It's because I'm afraid the other people aren't going to deliver on their part of whatever it is. I mean, at the very, very core.
Hmm.
So then, if that's what's happening, which that's was happening for me, then whose responsibility is it to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, whatever that's about. I mean, you don't have to go to therapy for 30 years. You just have to like release the thing and then go talk to the person
Yep.
and say, this is what's going on with me. How do we work together on this? Just like you would with your wife or your child or a business partner or a
Yep.
staff member. You work together. If you go off alone and try to control it, you just get more control energy and you're alone.
Yeah.
Like, wow, is that what you want?
Yeah.
So you have to look at, what do you really want? What is the outcome? And do I really want that? And for me, it's like what I have to let go of is control. And that means you have to assume that everything is moving in the right direction. And yeah, so I mean,
Hey, it's no joke that trust, and when we put trust and faith in, humanity and other coworkers or family members and things, we all carry baggage that is like we've gotten stung before because we've done it.
Yeah.
And to be able to forgive and let, and the whole let go thing, but forgive and learn, right? And be able to give a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance. It's hard to do sometimes.
Yeah, and the truth underneath all that is that we're not like trusting another person at the end of the day. We are not, we think that's what it's about, but it's about trusting ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's about, and I know the women I talk with deal with this all the time. It's real, because when you put it on the other person, you immediately become a potential victim of a circumstance or a condition. Oh, they let me down, whether it's your staff member, your business partner, your husband, your girlfriend, whatever. And it's never that. It's always us. Like, to your point, which was the single most important takeaway, I think, from everything we've talked about today, is we inform the meaning. Like, we are giving meaning to this. So if I'm feeling this and I go, oh, okay, I'm not trusting, I'm afraid, I'm trying to control it, then, and it helps to talk to people. But at the end of the day, what are the boundaries I'm setting for myself? Like, what is my responsibility? Because does it really matter if a staff member falls down on the job? Does it? What is the consequence of that? And if the worst possible scenario happens, am I going to be able to handle it? Of course. Am I going to be able to deal with anything? Yes. And until you can come to that place of feeling like, of course, something will work out, I will find the way, you know, then we're looking in the wrong direction.
It's very powerful.
I firmly believe that.
It's taking responsibility.
Yeah.
It really is. It's not, and it's not something that most, with all that's going on in the world today, personal responsibility is something that is just absolutely lagging behind in a lot of ways. And it's not a bad thing, but you know what? If a staff member or something bad happened, it's not a bad thing to say, okay, how could I have supported this person a little bit better? Hey, maybe I could have, if I was more involved in what's going on personally, like what's going on around the holidays, like we were just talking about, or just ask the question, open the door, not be intrusive, but just be curious. Hey, I get most people are dealing with this kind of nonsense right now. If you need to talk about it or get some strategies, come see me. And that might just be, oh my God, this guy gets it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He cares.
He cares. He gives a crap.
I mean, think about culture. Like, all we want, I'm sorry, I just interrupted you.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
This is, to me, what I care about more than anything, and why I coach, honestly, and why I'm doing all the other things I'm doing in business and writing and everything, is really, it's about humanity. People, when you have a healthy culture, it's like having a healthy family, which is much harder to do, honestly, I think, in an extended family than even in business, because you do have control much more than as a business owner. So people, they want to feel like they belong to something. They want to feel, notice the word feel in every sentence. They want to feel like they belong. They want to feel they are seen. They want to feel heard.
100%.
They don't necessarily need to be understood, but they want to feel like you care enough to try to hear them. And it's so simple. And yet these are the things that we ignore and we try to replace them with, and think about it like Christmas. We try to replace them with gifts. Well, gifts are great, by the way. Send them to me. I love them. But we try to replace it with like the perfect house, the perfect outfit, the perfect party, and all of that is fun and great and no problem. I'm not judging. I love everything perfect. But that never replaces, gosh, why? Then we feel bad. Like, why didn't I feel good? I didn't feel heard or seen or like I belonged.
Yep.
All I want are those three things. And when you give those to your employees, man, they will do anything.
Oh, they'll walk through fire for you. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's no question. And especially as leaders in what we do and taking that leadership position.
Yeah.
It's really our responsibility, because the ultimate, I mean, you have employees, you have customers and people that you serve. You have a why you're in business and who you're earning this money to affect others' lives, right? In the culture, you want everybody to be tuned into that. Hey, we dig, water wells in Haiti or whatever it would be.
Exactly.
It's like, that's our responsibility to make sure that those feelings are, I think cared for. We have to care for those feelings. It's like, it doesn't matter if you and I disagree on, and I think that your blouse is pink right now. If I say, no, that's a beautiful pink blouse, darn right well, you're right, it's not, but my perspective, it is. But if you care about the way I feel about my perspective, it may, and the meaning I give that you give it, it's okay if Pete thinks my blouse is pink.
Right.
It's all right.
Right.
Not a big deal.
I love that you said that, because it really is kind of the state of the nation. We focus on everything but the core things.
And this is where the things that we all get sucked into on the national news or all this stuff going on, when we can affect things in our world on a local level, these are the things that are within our power to actually create that ripple effect. Because if we have 10 families, let's say we employ 10 people, and we've got 10 families that we're responsible for, well, you know what? My responsibility is to change your family tree. Exactly.
Yes. Yes, totally. We have to carry that vision. And in coaching, it's the same thing. It's every person. I don't know. The way I see it is it's every person I encounter in the world. If you take that kind of responsibility for your experience in the world, and it always starts from a place, like you mentioned this earlier too, of curiosity and then generosity. So like, I love just asking the question, I wonder what amazing thing could happen when I go to, yesterday I had to go to the post office, and that was like, what? I haven't done that in years. That was so weird. And I had to pay a 39 cents on this package that, anyway, it was this whole ordeal that went on for like 3 weeks. So I thought, okay, I wonder what amazing thing is going to happen when I go into the post office, because I was feeling that resistance to getting in my car, driving over, going like, this is crazy.
Like, I have so many other good things that I could be doing with my time right now, right? It's like, this is so, not productive.
So 1953, but then I thought, well, this is really cool. Like, what could happen? So anyway, my point is, not to get in another story, but my point is that when you look for it, guess what happens? Amazing encounters. And then you're generous and you give something, you have different experiences. So, and it really always comes down to the need for people to feel seen and heard, and like they belong. So instead of looking for what's wrong or what the employees are doing wrong or what's not working or what divides us or whatever, I love that you said it doesn't matter if you see a pink blouse or that can go into any, you could use that as a.
Oh, for sure. And to your point, it's like, what's wrong is always, our brains are trained to find that, right? The skill is, okay, what can I appreciate? Who might I run into at the post office that I haven't seen in forever, or a neighbor or something like that, that I might, have some kind of ripple effect with their life, or maybe that, there's a chance for that interaction. We never know. And I'll tell you another quick story about what we did this holiday. It's been a lot of years since my wife and I have gone to any type of church.
Oh yeah, you were telling me. Yeah, go ahead.
Did I tell you about this?
Just privately, we chatted just very briefly about it, that you were going to.
Yeah. So I learned about this. There's this men's Bible study group that we meet Thursday mornings, 6 a.m. for an hour, right? And we just kind of pick a thing out. We talk. Anyway, the one guy was telling me, he's like, because I asked him, I said, what, you go to church around here, or what do you do? And he's like, oh yeah, you need to go to this one church, this Bayside place. And I'm like, well, it's right next to a Planet Fitness in a strip center. And he's like, you got to go. And you got to go check it out. And I said, okay, why? What do they do? What do they do for the community? What do they do, locally? And he's like, their outreach is like off the chart, incredible, right? So fast forward, my wife and I go to the service on Christmas Eve. It was absolutely beautiful. The music, the singing, Christmas carols, lighting candles, the whole thing was spectacular, actually. It actually was pretty shocking how amazing it was, right? We get out, we start leaving, and the pastor grabs us in the end, and just kind of thanks us for coming.
Nice.
And the reason I'm sharing this is because I asked him, I said, hey, what happened towards the end of this year that you're most proud of your church about doing? He's like, you know what? For the first time, he's like, it's a great question. He's like, you know what? For the first time this year, we have this process that, the Walmarts and the Costco, donate things, but they can't donate it directly to the church. They have to go through this service component, and then the churches can go and pick things up and then do what they want to do, right? Well, he said, for the first time, we found 50 families in our area that could not afford Christmas presents for their kids. So similar to a Toys for Tots thing, they went and grabbed things for the different age groups that they knew about. And these parents got to come in to the church, literally go shopping for their entire family, wrap everything before they left, because everybody helped them wrap it. And they provided Christmas for 138 kids, 135 kids that would have never unwrapped a gift at Christmas time. And I'm like, wow, that is super powerful from this little community church.
Yeah, this little church in a strip mall.
Yeah.
There's no limit. So this has been so great, Pete. I mean, we could just talk all day. And I do have to get on another call, as I'm sure you do. Yep. But maybe we can just wrap this up, going full circle to how you began this, which I think was so beautiful, of just taking a few minutes to, first of all, sit down and just let go of whatever's happening and look back at, wow, where's the gratitude? Like, what are the good feelings? And yeah, go ahead and speak to that.
Here's what's super important about that. When we sit and we look back at the year, and we go to the month in our calendar and look at all the appointments and all the stuff that we did, it's super powerful to capture that in our journal, because I'm going to ask you a question. Can you tell me what you did in March of 2015?
Actually, yeah, because that was
journaled it.
Well, yeah, it was a significant time for me, but right. I totally can. Yes.
Okay. So, but most people will be like, oh, I had to really think about that. You know what I mean? And
oh, totally. Yeah. But it's a thing that I do. So anyway, and that was a significant trigger. So April, maybe not, but yeah.
Okay.
Changes. So I didn't mean to just detract from your point. Go ahead.
No, it's okay, because you know what? Because it had burned an effect in your brain. March of 2015 was definitely something that was there. But for the sake of the question, right? Most of us really can't remember, if we maybe go back another year, what did we do March of 2014? When we can look it up and go back to that journal entry of what amazing happened in that year. And now we can see and have the perspective of what we just accomplished in 9 or 10 years. You want to talk about a mind-blowing experience when you go back that far and have actual entries. Doesn't matter how big, small, or anything. But if your life is worth living, it's worth capturing. And that's the biggest piece that I feel is important, because, man, I want to look back at all the years and just be like, man, how amazing, what privilege it was to be alive at this time in history, to be able to serve and do for others. And it actually changes when you look back. It changes how you view what you really want to do this coming year. And it gives you that why.
Oh, it is so powerful. I mean, honestly, we should do like a workshop for people around this, because as you're speaking, I was thinking also about what we talked about earlier, where you're giving these benchmarks, right? And there are also a lot of times where you look back and you're like, I had the same goal 10 years ago. How can I not have done that yet? Yeah. And instead of, and there are reasons why. So it's really helpful to sit with that and work through that. Honestly, that is going to be, I guarantee you, packed with, balls of yarn of emotion, like those balls of yarn. It's like tangled emotion that when you release, you will be able to move towards accomplishing those goals. I guarantee there's baggage there that you can let go of. And
well, and the same thing, Michelle, is if you think back, like I just happened to pull March of 2015 out of my just whatever. But if you think back to March of 2015, were you the same person?
I mean, I know what you're digging for there, so I'll say no, but basically, yes. I mean, basically, yes, underneath it all. Yeah.
Most of us would say, no, you know what? If I handled March of 2015 right now, a different person would handle it. I'd come at it from a different angle. It might affect me a little bit different, right? So in the process of maybe not achieving that goal, or, hey, I'm the same BMI or whatever that is, and I've had this goal of getting to the gym 6 days a week, and I've only been able to do 3, and I'm beating myself up about it, right? However,
I was in good shape then, but anyway, yeah, go ahead. Okay.
No, but if you think about it,
person. I was a better person in some ways. I'm joking, but
I know you are. But the point I'm making is that we develop, we become more, we become different, we learn, and we are different right now. We've changed our cellular structure. I don't know how many times in that period of time, right? So we really are deep down a different person. But the power in recording and capturing what we've done, where we've been, who we were, because you're not really consciously thinking about that. You're like, oh, well, when I went through it, now I'm going back 21 years ago, when I handled my divorce, right? Oh my God. If fast forward, if I handle it, there's so many things I would do different now, because
totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just the way it is, right?
Yeah. And the other thing, and then I actually have,
we got to wrap up. Yep.
But the last thing I want to say about this is that when you do what Pete's talking about, you are like, you're landing, you're setting your brain up in that energy of gratitude. And the thing about gratitude lists and all that are such a big thing, and it's such a trending thing, which is really good. But from a physiological, like biological, what goes on in your body and your brain, it's really powerful because you literally are setting yourself up to receive what you want, because you're focusing, you're not in fight or flight or what bad thing is going to happen. You're not looking for the obstacles. You're looking for the way you feel. It's like a feeling of relief and receiving, and it's so nice. And that allows you to achieve more. So when you look back over your year, instead of being like, oh my God, this didn't happen, wow, that really went downhill, that is not setting you up for where you want to go. So we always move from either pain or vision, right? We're either pushed or pulled. So you're setting yourself up to be pulled by that thing, that dream, that vision, all that good energy stuff that you want. So anyway, it's so hard to say goodbye to you all the time. Except that I have another meeting that started 11 minutes ago.
So. No, it's all good. Hey, you know what? We'll close for now. Maybe we'll pick up on it next week. Because there's so many things that to me, the planning of this year, it kind of starts now.
Oh, and then
it goes in, a couple weeks into January. It's not really finished or wrapped up. So we've got more to talk about and more distinctions and more ways to really light 23 up. I'm like really excited about what's coming.
Me too. And there's always adjusting, like from every single day. So there's so much for us to talk about, and we'll be back. So make sure you reach out to Pete if you want that top secret planning tool. Which sounds really fun. And have a beautiful week. And thank you so much, Pete. It's wonderful as always. And we'll be back next Friday.
Awesome. See you then.
Have a great day.